Hey folks, want to come on here and shoot a quick solo episode. This one's going to be about Guinness. Exciting and fun topic, which we'll get into today. In the meantime, I'm still looking for a business to come on the show as a sponsor. It would be great to have their potential watermark, hats, wear a t-shirt or jumper. I have technology, laptop, headphones. Also wear glasses for pretty much any time outside when I'm sleeping. I don't wear them to bed. I know some people wear the blue light blocking glasses, but yeah, I just wear the Specsavers. I looked into getting laser eye surgery, but unfortunately, a number of reasons, I'm going to hold off for the moment. But you never know in the future. In saying that, I will talk briefly about the topic today, which is Guinness. So we've about 15 minutes to let you know there's going to be interviews on the way. There's one that waiting to be approved, and then there's a few others over the coming weeks. So super exciting, super fun stuff. And yeah, this one is about Guinness, which is top of mind for me personally, as a video came across in a WhatsApp group the other day in of an Australian news channel, Nine News, on the Today Show in Australia, and they're talking about the recent spike. Oh, excuse me, that's the noise in the background. But the recent spike in the popularity of the Guinness drink, saying it's one of the most popular stout, but one of the most popular brewed drinks in the world, probably because of the recent British and Irish Lions tour. I think had a sponsorship of Guinness. Let me double check that. And did one sec. Lions and Guinness, and they had a recent tour to Australia. So it's just top of mind, British and Irish. Yeah, Guinness was a major sponsor partnership, being the official beer of the 2025 Lions tour to Australia, which is just talked about rugby last week. So I'm going to come on and just briefly touch upon Guinness, which also sponsors the Six Nations, which, for those who don't know, Six Nations is a rugby tournament, rugby union tournament, and the Lions is rugby union as well. It's rugby league. We talked about rugby getting the top 10 sports of the world. Six Nations is on Netflix. It is a Northern Hemisphere international, men or women's as well, international and under 20s rugby tournament. Let me just look it up and make sure we'll go back to Guinness in a sec, but maybe this is the rise of popularity within, just want to touch upon it, Chat GPT, Guinness, Chat GPT. One sec, let me get this for you. What is the Six Nations Championship? It is a major annual rugby union tournament. The teams England, France, Ireland, Italy, Scotland, and Wales. In 2025, the tournament ran from the 31st of January to 15th of March. Point system: 4 points for a win, 2 points for a draw. I won't get into it too much. Was Guinness, because it's upcoming this year as well, was Guinness the main sponsor? I know it's a bit of a tangent, but we will get there in the end. Yes, Guinness is or was the title sponsor of the Six Nations. I think the Premier League as well, which is a football tournament, football league. Geez, what am I like? Monday afternoon at nearly 4 p.m. I think it's a football tournament in the UK. And I'm pretty sure the Premier League main sponsor is Guinness. Fair play to the partnerships team over or an agency or team over in Guinness. Really doing a great job in the UK and Ireland anyway. Maybe globally now, with also, which we'll get on to, Guinness and the Premier League. Guinness Premier League refers to the partnership between the beer brand Guinness and the English Premier League under a 4-year agreement that began with the 2024-2025 season. Guinness is the official beer, and Guinness 0.0 is the official non-alcoholic beer of the Premier League. As part of a deal, Guinness, this is the AIO review on Google. Guinness is also the official responsible drinking partner and engages with fans through marketing campaigns, fan events, and promotions. Partnership details: The partnership is the first global football partnership for Guinness. It includes activation across the world to connect with fans and promote responsible drinking. Campaigns and activations. Guinness launches global campaigns to celebrate the beautiful game and its fans, such as Lovely Day for a Guinness campaign, which highlights fan rituals and community. They also partner with pubs and venues to create fan experiences and run sweepstakes. Responsible drinking. As part of the partnership, Guinness will promote responsible drinking during the Premier League season. Super interesting. They have a video as well. And what else? We'll get into Guinness in a sec, but there's also the Netflix series that has come out on the House of Guinness. Let me just look this up real quick. House of Guinness, Netflix. And for those of you who don't know, they're in Dublin, Ireland, which I talked about on episode 7 with Swish Goswami. When he was visiting Dublin, he visited the Guinness Storehouse, is where they used to brew Guinness, which we'll get into in St. James's Gate, where Arthur Guinness took out a 9,000-year lease. Which is an entrepreneur or someone that really believes in what they're doing, that long-term vision. I'm getting into the history and whatnot, but yeah, it's super interesting. House of Guinness, IMDb, 7.4 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, 90%. Interesting stuff. I don't really look at those things, by the way. This is just me reading off the. Follows the aftermath of the death of brewery mogul Sir Benjamin Guinness, and the impact of his will on the fate of the 4 children, Arthur, Edward. Was it Benjamin with the lease or Arthur? I'm going to double check that in a sec. Look up the history. I haven't watched it, to be honest. I haven't watched the House of Guinness. I've only saw the first episode, the start of it, so I may get into it a bit more. Not going to lie, had 1 or 2, maybe 3 pints of Guinness last night, just chill out a bit, and kind of in a bit of a transition life at the moment. I didn't have meetings this morning, so it was all good. Follows the aftermath of the death of brewery mogul Sir Benjamin Guinness, which we already talked about, the impact of his will on the fate of his 4 children, Arthur, Edward, and Ben, and other Dubliners affected by the expanding Guinness empire. And the Guinness Storehouse, and I'm going backwards here, so please bear with me. Excuse me. Yes, the Guinness Storehouse. They had an Arthur's Day as well. I was studying Galway in 2014, and Arthur's Day. I haven't even chatted about what Guinness actually is yet. But Arthur's Day, well, kind of we have, but not get into it fully. Arthur's Day was an annual promotion event by Diageo, launched in 2009 to celebrate the 250th anniversary of Guinness. Held in September, it featured music events and promotions in bars worldwide. Though it faced criticism for encouraging excessive drinking, Diageo officially cancelled the event in 2014 and replaced it with other projects such as Guinness Ampli Music Program. And yeah, the origin, the event was created by, which we already went into, Purpose, the annual global marketing. But it seems like they're really making a push this year, Guinness, potentially with the Netflix series and a few other things. Criticism. Arthur's Day drew significant criticism for promoting excessive alcohol consumption and creating a public nuisance. Cancellation. Diageo cancelled Arthur's Day in 2014, stating it was due to a shift in their marketing strategy rather than the backlash replacement. The company announced that the new music program, Guinness Amplify, would replace Arthur's Day as its music focus initiative. Super interesting. And the Guinness Storehouse. Welcome to the home of Ireland's most iconic beer. Guinness Storehouse experience. Savours, sights, sounds, aromas of Guinness. You can get a ticket and you can go in. Living in Dublin, Ireland for on and off for the last 30 years. I've really, I didn't even, when the Guinness Storehouse opened in, I need to get into a bit of the background of Guinness in a sec. I've already touched upon it, but it says the best time to go to the Guinness Storehouse is late in the morning or early afternoon. Guinness Storehouse, when did it open? It opened in... The Guinness Storehouse opened public in December 2nd, 2000, after the building and a former fermentation plant was converted into the visitor centre. The conversion process, which is separate to the brewery, began in 1997, and the new attraction at St. James's Gate was created to tell the history of Guinness and the brewing process. Opened in December 2nd, 2000. Original building, a former fermentation plant, which we touched upon, conversion. Yeah, it's great to have the gate there. You can get a photo with it if you're ever in Dublin. I recommend visiting. Even if you don't drink Guinness, there's a lovely view at the end of the hall. I think it's an event space. I've been to an event there as well for a company. I think it was the launch of a crypto, I think it was the Web3 company, so I won't name their names anyway. And which probably could, but I won't name them on here. And yeah, it's great. It's a great to go down and see if you're in Dublin or in middle of city centre. I think they're also opening a mini brewery or a micro brewery or mini brewery in London. Guinness, London. Yes, Guinness Open Gate Brewery, London. And you can watch the video on the website, which I may link, Open Gate London. Good things are coming to Covent Garden. Expect bold, creative spaces, fresh flavor experiences. I don't know I think I haven't eaten lunch yet. That's it. I'm delaying my lunch at the moment. So anyway, hopefully you bear with me. Magical tours and exclusive merch. Fascinating stuff. Guinness Open Gate Brewery London is opening its gates on Thursday, the 11th of December, 2025. Step into the new home of Guinness in London. So it's expanding. Anyway, into the good stuff. We're 12 minutes in and we're just talking about Guinness now. So on ChatGPT, we will talk about Guinness. I know we've chatted about Guinness, but we'll actually get into a bit more about Guinness. Give me a sec. Guinness. Again, I'm seeing a lot of ChatGPT out-of-home advertisements in South County Dublin. Don't know, or in Dublin in South County, the south part of Dublin. Interesting. They must be really making a big push for their marketing. Guinness beer. So Guinness can refer to several things depending on the context. There is Guinness beer, type Irish stout, dark beer with a creamy head. Origin, we already been brewed in Dublin, Ireland at the Guinness Brewery, St. James's Gate in 1759. Flavor profile, roasted malt, coffee, chocolate notes, slightly bitter. Variants, drought, extra stout, foreign, extra stout, nitro, IPA, and more. Which is interesting. Don't make this about myself, but I didn't like chocolate growing up. I didn't eat too much of it, but I am a fan of Guinness moderately. I don't drink a lot of Guinness. I gave it up. I gave up alcohol for quite a long time, on and off for a few years. A long time, so people give up their whole life. So, but anyway, we'll get back into the show. This is the show, but we'll get back into it. Fun fact: Guinness is famous for the perfect pour, 119.5 seconds to settle before serving, and they talk about a thing called split the G as well, which is new by I think Gen Z created it, and I'm not sure if they created the Guinness Book of World Records. It's someone else. Guinness name. Fun fact: the Guinness name here comes from the beer company because the idea was originated in a pub. Which annual reference book? The Guinness World Records annual reference book listing World Records, 1955 by Sir Hugh Beaver, initially to settle pub debates. Scope covers achievements in human nature, science, and unusual feats. The Guinness family. Origin Irish family, historically wealthy through the brewing business. Notable members: Arthur Guinness, founder Benjamin Guinness, and descendants involved with the business and philanthropy. And then Guinness sponsorship, which you already touched upon, the sponsorship media, which for me, studying digital marketing strategy and being in Google, it's in Dublin, Ireland, it's just something that's top of mind for me, the more sort of the marketing and the digital marketing side of things. But I am touching upon Guinness in itself as a beer, so alongside the other things. That's why, hence the priorities of going backwards with Guinness. But yeah, I haven't watched The House of Guinness, which I mentioned, which I need to get into. This is a casual episode, which is a good thing. What else are we looking at? What about The House? Yes, The House of Guinness is a Netflix series. Quick rundown. The House of Guinness is about historical drama in 1868 Dublin. I don't get paid to say this, by the way. And New York. The story began, we already touched upon that, after Sir Benjamin Lee Guinness and his will causes big drama for his 4 children, Arthur, Edward, Anne, and Ben. Created by Stephen Knight, the same person behind Peaky Blinders. Key details, number of episodes, 8. Premiere date 25th of September 2025 on Netflix. Main cast Anthony Boyle, Arthur, Lewis Partridge, Edward, Emily Farn excuse me for saying that, and Fiona O'Shea, Ben. Language and subtitles, English audio, Irish subtitles, among others, are available. Filming locations through the set in Dublin and New York. Much of the filming was done in Liverpool, Manchester, and Yorkshire. Themes: family legacy, inheritance, business brewery, power struggles. Reception: critics are generally positive outside of Ireland. Some critics are less impressed. They argue it's historically inaccurate or leans on cliches. There is talk from creator Stephen Knight of continuing the story into future seasons. Fascinating. There's also something to note. We go back to Guinness founding history of it a bit, which you can learn in the Guinness Storehouse. I don't want to touch upon it too much. But the Guinness founding, Arthur Guinness, and you can actually go into, and I won't talk about it, I don't want to ruin it for you, but it's pretty cool. You go into his, Guinness founding, Arthur Guinness founded in 1759, which is around the time of the famine. For those who don't know, there was a famine in Ireland, I think before or after. Let me just double check. I could know my history, but it's been a while since I've delved into Irish history too much, which the famine in Ireland. Those of you that are listening outside of the country and Ireland, the Great Famine in Ireland, the potato famine, was in 1845 to 1852, which isn't a part of the podcast, but it's interesting to note that Guinness was before then. I wonder if they stopped. Did they stop making Guinness during the famine? Did they stop making Guinness during the famine? Another tangent. No, Guinness brewing did not stop during the Irish potato famine. In fact, Guinness continued to be produced throughout the famine years. Here's why. Guinness is made from barley, not potatoes. The famine primarily affected potatoes, which were a staple of the food for the majority of the Irish population. Barley crops were not affected in the same, which I knew this, by the way, I just promise I knew this. So breweries like Guinness, I don't know why I joke about that. I'm not joking, by the way. I suppose brevity. So breweries like Guinness could continue production. Guinness and the economy. Guinness was a commercial enterprise and had resources to continue operating. They eventually expanded their operations in the mid-1800s despite the famine. Social context. While Guinness kept brewing, the Irish population was suffering mass starvation. This contrast between ongoing commercial production and widespread hunger contributed to resentment towards the British and those who benefited economically during the famine. In short, the famine devastated the population, but did not halt the production of beer like Guinness because they did not rely on potatoes and had economic means to continue. If you want, I can also explain how Guinness actually helped the famine. Yes, please. Yes, please. By the way, we're running slightly over 15 minutes, I think now 18 minutes, but this is pretty interesting for me, so I want to talk a bit about it. The weather's changing. We're in November and the rain's starting to happen and the rugby's on. The November series. And I've noticed that there's Guinness advertisements out as well. So in Dublin for the games, as well as the Premier League. So during the Irish potato famine, Guinness did take some steps to help, though it was limited compared to the scale of disaster. To clear breakdown, employment relief. Guinness continued to employ workers during the famine, steady wages, food and aid initiatives. Beer as nutrition, which is super interesting, which is talked about. People think maybe Guinness is good for them. So I know it has some iron content and, believe it or not, I think some B vitamins as well. But again, I'm not a registered dietitian, so I can't speak on it. Although I do have a nutrition certification, so I'll look that up next maybe. Beer as nutrition. Guinness had sometimes been described as nutritional beer due to its calorie and iron content. Some urban poor might have consumed small amounts, but it was not substitute for real food, and it could not prevent starvation during the famine. But yes, Guinness kept running and employed workers and contributed to some relief, but the company did not. She could not alleviate widespread famine. The company did not, and realistically could not, alleviate widespread famine in its ongoing production during a time of masturbation, sometimes symbolizes the mark of inequalities of the era. Interesting stuff. Yes, let's go back. Key facts about Guinness. I know we're over 15 minutes, but so be it. We'll get to maybe, it's a bit of fun, this podcast, talking about Guinness. Key facts. So Guinness founding, Arthur Guinness, 1759, St. James's Gate Brewery, Dublin, Ireland. Lease, which we talked about. Arthur Guinness signed a lease for 9,000 years on St. James's Brewery for £45 a year. One of the most famous long-term leases in history. Initial brewing started by brewing porter, a dark, rich beer that was popular in London at the time. Over time, the recipe evolved into what we know as a Guinness Stout. Expansion. Guinness became Ireland's largest brewery by the 19th century. Arthur's descendants continued expanding internationally, exporting beer globally. And we'll get onto this next. Innovation. Famous for perfecting the nitrogenated pour. The creamy head, nitrogenated pour. Interesting. The creamy, which we already talked about. Known for strong branding and iconic advertising campaigns like Guinness is good for you. I've noticed a lot. There's pubs in Ireland, or Dublin anyway, and Guinness for strength is another slogan that I see, or a motto or slogan. I think it's tagline. I think some people use the word synonyms, motto, slogan. For those of you that are a little younger out there, which probably 18s plus this podcast, it's my first 18 plus podcast, just because Guinness is that of an alcoholic beverage. A slogan, a short and striking or memorable phrase used in advertising. One sec, let me get into this. We've covered a lot of Guinness. Legacy. Arthur Guinness original, the 1759 brewery is still in operation today. Super tired today. Guinness is now owned by Diageo, a global beverage company, which we won't get too much into Diageo, but there's one last thing which I'll touch upon today. I think the 9,000 year lease is pretty cool. And we'll get to the one thing at the end. 22 minutes in, so I better hurry this up. Guinness in Africa. Historical presence and local brewing. Long history of Guinness in Africa. I think that's where the pelican comes from, which sometimes you see the logo of the bird associated with Guinness. Guinness has been exported to Africa since early 19th century. The first record shipment to Africa was to Sierra Leone around 1827. Local production and breweries. Nigeria, the first Guinness brewery outside Ireland/UK was built in Lagos in 1962. Ghana, Guinness Ghana breweries founded in 1960. Cameroon, a Guinness brewery operated in Douala around 1970. Namibia, there were plans for local Guinness production, ownership, and business operations. Diageo, the parent company of Guinness, has a large presence in Africa. According to its reports, it has brewery subsidiaries or distribution arrangements in many countries. In Ghana, Diageo recently sold 80.4% of the stake in Guinness Ghana breweries to the Castel Group, but continues to own the brand and license production. In East Africa, Diageo part owns East Africa Breweries Limited, EABL, which it seems like back in the day. I don't know if you've seen that Netflix show, but I won't get into it. Just about. We'll stick to Guinness. I won't get into it at the moment. Maybe another time. We'll try to keep this under 25 minutes, 30 seconds left. Maybe 30 minutes. The production, alcohol in North America. Oh, there's a name of it. Oh, I won't get into it. There's a whole history behind alcohol in Canada and North America. But we'll talk about Guinness. Stick with Guinness for the moment. We'll go back to where we were. One sec. Yes, the East Africa. Types of Guinness are most popular in Africa. The Guinness Foreign Extra Stout, which I saw, I was in London recently and I saw it for I think the first time. FESC is especially big in Africa. It's a bit sweeter, I think, personally. But in some African markets, FES is brewed using local grains like maize or sorghum, which, I think so you pronounce it, which influence taste because of local production and popularity. Guinness in Africa is not just an imported novelty, it's a core part of beer market. Their economic and cultural impact in some African countries. Guinness is deeply embodied in local culture. We're running over 30 minutes, way over, but we have a bit of time today, so in the afternoon, so why not? Guinness is deeply... According to Diageo, they source a large percentage of their raw materials locally from African farmers. In some African countries, Guinness is deeply embedded in, which I touched on already, local cultural and social life. Guinness has contributed to employment and local business through its breweries and supply chains across Africa. Market challenges and recent changes. In Nigeria, Diageo is changing its business model. There is a deal to sell a major stake of Guinness Nigeria to Tolaram, while Diageo retains the brand licensing in Ghana, as mentioned. Diageo saw most of its share in Guinness Ghana breweries. In South Africa, local brewing of Guinness hasn't or didn't historically happen much. Most Guinness is imported there. Currently, why Guinness is so popular in Africa, the high AVB version, like Foreign Extra Stout, were originally designed for long sea voyages, which made them durable for export to tropical regions. Over time, Guinness adapted to African tastes and supply chains, e.g. by using local grains. The brand's legacy combined with local production has made it more than just an important beer. It's part of many African markets. Yeah, and I won't get into too much. There's there's trends of different. It says Guinness's biggest African market in 2024, 2025 is, do you want me to guess? Interesting to know. And yeah, may check out the House of Guinness. I won't get into too much. Lastly, I suppose the one thing is, why Guinness? After all this, why Guinness? We touched upon so much about this one drink. Why people drink? So we'll go back to why Guinness, but why people drink it first. And that is mainly due to the taste and texture, low calories than many people think, tradition and brand image, versatility, why Guinness became popular in Africa, why Guinness became a global brand, Arthur's vision, we talked about the 9,000-year lease, consistent quality, innovation, marketing, Guinness is good for you, and now they've global recognition with the Premier League and the Six Nations Rugby, the House of Guinness and the Lions Tour, being a cultural icon, expand just beyond a beverage. In short, product quality, durability, cultural resonance, and brand power, clever marketing, and consistent legacy, which is why why people drink the beer, I suppose, product quality. For me, why I introduced it in my life, I suppose, is one thing, again, is just chill out and relax and rest. I know the alcohol offsets maybe some of the benefits. I think iron content can help transport oxygen to the brain. Again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to talk about this too much. For brain health, and then B vitamins to fight fatigue. I think so, but maybe the alcohol offsets a lot of it, or some of it. Again, I don't want to be spreading rumors on here and get kicked off the entire platform. But yes, the molecule responsible for transporting oxygen to the brain is iron, and the rest of the body is hemoglobin, which contains iron. So here's a detailed breakdown. But yeah, I suppose the reason why I drink Guinness, the last thing and the one thing, just about 30 minutes, is because it helps me chill out and relax. And, maybe there's a small bit of the truth that it is good for you, but in moderation. It may not be good for you, but anyway, I like to drink it sometimes, chill out and relax. And yeah, super exciting time for, I suppose, Guinness. And if you're ever visiting Ireland, probably check out the Guinness Storehouse. And now London's in Covent Garden, opening in December. This December? I think it's this December. We talked about it already. So yeah, one thing, I had 3 pints of Guinness last night, just chill out and relax. And yeah, may give it up again in the future, but the weather has changed with November rain. And yeah, feel free to, I think that's it. Feel free to, if you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share. And I thought I'd bring it back and wrap it back into kind of the self-help business space, which is kind of two different topics, but I'm kind of floating through the self-help business space at the moment, trying to figure out which one long term. And that's it, folks. Thanks for listening, and see you later.